Good morning. I've just come back from a vacation in Virginia where I used to live, deep in the mountains near the Blue Ridge Parkway. Oh, how I've missed those rocky bumps in the sky. But you know what? It took me 3 days to drive there, but only 2 days to drive back. Why? Because I was coming home. The only bumps in the sky here are trees and buildings, but what I missed when I was in the mountains was the ability to see wide vistas and broad landscapes, the ability to take the long view. I discovered I can have more than one heart home, more than one place to dream about returning to, but home is the place where you feel at peace. Hi, this is Annie Foerster, minister. I'm going to be talking about coming home this morning, coming back to church in person when it is safe to do so, and what plans we have for accomplishing that. In the meantime, welcome to what I hope has become one of your heart homes. Welcome to First Jefferson Unitarian Universalist Church in Fort Worth, Texas. Let us begin our worship this morning with music. Our call to worship this morning is titled, "The Church Has Left the Building," and was written by Margaret Weiss. The church is not a place, it is a people. The church is not only a steeple above the tree lines, streets, and cars. Rather, it is a people proclaiming to the world that we are here for the work of healing and justice. The church is not walls built stone upon stone, held together by mortar, but rather person linked with person, linked with person, all ages and genders and abilities, a community built on the foundation of reason, faith, and love. The church is not just a set of doors open on Sunday morning, but the commitment day after day and moment after moment of our hearts creaking open the doors of welcome to the possibility of new experience and radical welcome. The church is not simply a building, a steeple, a pew. The church is the gathering together of all the people and experiences and fear and love and hope in our resilient hearts, gathering however we can to say to the world, welcome, come in, lay down your heartache and pick up hope and love. For the church is us, each and every one of us together, a beacon of hope to this world that so sorely needs it. Our opening hymn this morning is titled, Where is Our Holy Church? Number 113, if you have a hymn book handy, but the words will be on your screen. Our song later this morning is David Bindi, accompanied by our pianist, Misha Beresnev.
Where is our holy church, where race and class unite, as equal persons in the search for beauty, truth, and right? Where is our holy writ, where'er a human heart a sacred torch of truth has lit, by inspiration taught? Where is our Holy One, a mighty host resound? The people rise in every land to break the captive's bond. Where is our Holy Land, within the human soul? Wherever free minds truly seek with character the goal. Where is our paradise in aspiration's sight, wherein we hope to see arise 10,000 years of right?
Our chalice lighting is titled, This Chalice is Lit for You, and was written by Tara Humphreys. Whether you are from the south, the east, the north, or the west, whether you were born into this faith, found it, or it found you, whether you feel at home or are still trying to find your place, whether you believe in God, are open to mystery, or still have no idea, whether you are employed, underemployed, cobbling things together, overworking, or in school, whether you are holding anxiety, grief, confusion, anger, hope, restlessness, or deep peace, Unitarian Universalism has a home for you. It is right here. This chalice is lit for you. Please join me in saying our covenant. Is the doctrine of this church. The quest of truth is our sacrament, and service is our prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve others in community to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with creation. Thus do we covenant with one another. Every Sunday, it is true every day, and I'm glad we can come together to say it together. As I said this morning, I'm going to try to answer some of the questions about when we can gather in our church building again. They are questions you've been asking me, the board, or yourself in your prayers and dreams. These are the questions I'm going to respond to. These questions. What would your answers be? What have you missed most about being unable to gather? How can we be safe together? And the big one, what is next? Think about it, and I'll come back and do my own responses. I'd like to hear from you. But for now, let's do a story for all ages called The Lemonade Adventure by Naomi King. Once, there was a town in far South Florida between the alligators and the ocean. In this town, there were two friends, Sam and Joseph. They were a lot alike. They liked the same foods. They liked the same books. Well, they liked the same movies and music and games. They even liked the same class in school, which was math. But 2 weeks into summer vacation, Sam and Joseph were bored. Bored, 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 bored. They were bored with books. They were bored with movies. And they were bored with television. They were bored with games, and bored with music, and bored with the internet. And definitely, oh, most definitely, they were bored with each other. Why am I here with you? Sam asked. You're so boring. Well, why am I here with you? Joseph asked. You're so boring. And just about that time, Joseph's father's car pulled up. The front door opened, and Joseph's father shouted, Hey, boys, gotta run, but I'm dropping off Grandpa Jeff. See you later. Have fun, all of you. Bye. And by the time these words had even made it to Joseph and Sam's ears, Joseph's father's car was pulling out of the driveway, and Grandpa Jeff was sitting on his suitcase with his cane, blinking a little, and cleaning his spectacles with an embroidered handkerchief. This was something new. Sam and Joseph propelled themselves from the floor to investigate Grandpa Jeff. They poked him, they prodded him, and finally Grandpa Jeff said, Oh, ouch, stop that. Were you raised by wolves? No, I suppose not. You'd have better manners. He sighed. Yelling wasn't nice of me either. Allow me to introduce myself. And Sam introduced Joseph, and Joseph introduced Sam, and then they stood there looking at each other. So it's summertime, boys. What are you doing for fun? And Sam and Joseph just looked at one another. Fun? Well, we had fun once, but it's gone now. Now we're just bored. Boards? Asked Grandpa. Yes, you should probably get some boards, also some hammers and nails and paint. Come on, boys, let's go find what we need. A brief while later, there they were, hammering boards together, although they had no idea what they were making. Grandpa Jeff had said, I don't know what you should make or how you should paint it, but you have colors and you have patterns and you have ideas of your own. Show them to the world. Well, they did. And as they did, Joseph and Sam realized they were not bored anymore. They were excited. And that evening, they ate dinner and laughed and talked with Grandpa Jeff about heroes and movies and transforming action figures. Grandpa Jeff, we love adventures. Tell us some of yours, they said. And Grandpa Jeff did. He told of fixing engines, and he told of splitting wood, of wandering lost in a desert, and of meeting his true love. Joseph and Sam hoped their lives might be as exciting as Grandpa Jeff's seemed to be. And at the end of the day, they thanked Grandpa Jeff for all these grand adventure gifts. But he said to them, Boys, every person has gifts and ideas and stories. Every person has adventures. Some know how to tell them, and some have a special gift of coaxing them out of someone else. But an adventure is always within your power. Well, the boys went to sleep that night, dreaming of the adventures they had heard about. And the next day, Sam and Joseph asked Grandpa Jeff what they would do with what they had built. Do? What do you think we should do? And the boys thought, and they talked about it. And then they decided to set up a lemonade stand. And kids from the neighborhood came by to talk and tell jokes and buy lemonade. And the utility crew working on the electric lines nearby stopped at lunchtime and bought lemonade. And they talked about their boys and when they had had lemonade stands. And the weekend just zipped by. It was time for Grandpa Jeff to leave. He took each boy's hand to shake goodbye. And Sam and Joseph each said, Thank you, Grandpa Jeff. Come back again. We hated being bored, and you fixed that. But Grandpa Jeff put down their hands and looked at them steadily. Boys, boredom is a choice. You each have gifts and ideas. So did all those people you just met. You each have stories. And so did all those people you brought with your lemonade stand. The beginning of an adventure is always within your power. When I came here, I had forgotten that, and you reminded me. Thank you, and goodbye. Well, we may have to say goodbye at times, but when we have gratitude, we can remember the ways each person's life touches ours and continue to live with that very special gift. I hope you enjoyed the story, and I hope you're not bored with your spring so far. Summer hasn't even started. Here's my first response to the questions I asked you. It has been 13 months and 17 days since we last worshiped together, since we last held potlucks, met in forum, and had meetings in the church building. 412 days. Many of us have gathered here in small, careful groups. The worship recording team, for instance, along with rotating singers and our pianist. The rest of the staff have come to the building to do parts of their jobs, the parts they can't do from home. The building committee has continued to work on the building, the grounds crew on the grounds. Occasional people, carefully masked, have dropped in to say hello, to ask what they can do, to distribute pet food, to water the plants, sort the choral music. We've had a few forays outside where it's safer to meet, but mostly it has been 400 plus days of separation from one another, except for faces seen on screens. We've provided opportunities to be with one another virtually, committee meetings, social groups, book clubs, Sunday coffee hour, classes and workshops. But it's not the same, is it? There's a real human longing to be with one another. And as news of vaccination against COVID and lower numbers for new cases and deaths are disseminated, the longing for each other's presence heightens. But this long stretch of sheltering has given us an opportunity to learn new skills of coping, to learn resilience, and to learn more about ourselves. What have you learned during these months? Look back and consider how you are different, how difficulty has made you stronger. Well, I'm making assumptions here, but I hope I'm right. I remember how very difficult that first month of speaking to an empty sanctuary was. I looked out and literally saw nothing but empty chairs, a hollow, echo-filled room. I wanted it to be over soon, preferably immediately. But over the weeks, I got better at remembering and bringing you back in my mind. Over the months, I was able to see you sitting out here, many of you in the same seat you always choose, or the same side, or the same row. And I could imagine new faces for the people who wrote to us saying, "I found you on YouTube," or "I can't wait to meet you in person," and "Thank you for your helpful words." I learned that being alone isn't the same as being lonely. I found company in the Facebook posts, the questing emails, the pixels that represented you in meeting online. I found strength in realizing that we were all filled with the same fear and longing, and we were all held together by the same hope and anticipation for a better day. You know, I remember in another life the first time I went camping over a long weekend by myself. Previously, I'd gone only with family or friends. And when I packed my tent to return home and hoisted my backpack onto my shoulders, I had this feeling that if I could do that, spend a weekend in the mountains by myself, I could do anything. I just hadn't realized before how strong and resilient I could be. You know, I have had a similar feeling after this long and still ongoing separation, this diaspora of Unitarian Universalist seekers. If we can survive this separation, we can do anything. We can wait a little longer in order to prepare the building, mend the tears ripped into the walls by a frozen pipe bursting. We can hold on a little longer until we prepare ourselves for how we will return. We can continue to keep in touch online, and we can be grateful we have the ability to do that. We can learn to grow our own resilience. I hope you have discovered this resilience in yourself. If not, I have a recipe for resilience that I will share with you after my generosity report. First, Dan Sexton, chair of this year's stewardship campaign, reported at the council meeting this week that our collection of pledges for the coming year currently exceeds $120,000. It's pretty good, but that's not our hoped-for goal of $155,000, which would allow us to give raises to our staff who have kept the faith and kept working throughout the pandemic, and allow us to add new programs we are going to need to grow and get back to normal. But we have a few more people to talk with yet, and some good news in other areas that we will share at the congregational meeting, which is a week from today, next week. Please plan to be there virtually. Our next one is in November, and we hope it will be in person. And here to share his generosity of spirit is David Winkowski. You're on.
Hello, my name is David Winkowski. I have been a member of First Jefferson for about 9 years now. I most recently served as president of the congregation with a brief stint as vice president just before. In the past, I've also served as kitchen witch and whatever else needed to be done right at the time. I fell in love with the idea of Unitarian Universalism before I even stepped through the doors of First Jefferson. It began as a suggestion from a grief counselor to perhaps work some on my spiritual health. I shared that with a friend of mine who told me about Unitarian Universalism. He felt that it was a more inclusive environment than most other churches, and that was very important to me at the time, and it still is. I was beginning to see deep divisions growing in our society, divisions that were making deep and thoughtful discussions very difficult, if not impossible at times. The basic idea of a covenantal faith that allowed people of varying backgrounds to be together intrigued me. The first time I entered First Jefferson, it was the first service of the new year. It was the decade service. For those of you who are not familiar with the decade service, it is an opportunity where members of the congregation from different generations can share their views of the church, of the world, and what their dreams are for the future. I got to see those various perspectives laid out in front of me. And as an unexpected bonus, it was a potluck day, so I was treated to a New Year's feast as well. I felt such an attachment that I even stayed and helped wipe down the tables afterwards. But what I remember most about that day was the feeling of being welcome. I remember the first person to shake my hand, and that was Welton Martin. I also remember sitting in Coleman Hall having a long conversation with Ken Samble about nothing in particular. I felt at home. That is why I began donating my time, my talent, and my treasure to First Jefferson. It was the promise of a faith that was open to new ideas and fresh perspectives that brought me through the doors the first time. But it was the welcoming people and the nurturing environment that kept bringing me back. It is the hope that we could somehow, in some way, deliver that feeling to others that need a nurturing environment, that is searching for a new home. It is that feeling and that hope that continues to bring me back. So that is why I give to First Jefferson, and I will leave you with one other question. What will your contributions be in making your dreams for First Jefferson come true?
Thank you, David. Well, perhaps you need that recipe for resilience right now. It was given to me by Margaret Weiss. And she said, this recipe has been tweaked over time, so adjust it as necessary for your needs and pleasure. Sometimes it yields more servings than anticipated. And sometimes it needs a bit more of this ingredient or that. It comes from generations who have gone before me, and I've added my own flavor along the way. Here's the recipe. 1 part courage. That comes from the heart. 2 parts tears of failure and doubt. That seems to be a staple in the human pantry. 1 part deep listening, starting with yourself. 1 part each of both silence and laughter. Oh, great healing ingredients. A dash of trust, and a dash is all you need. A pinch of wonder, a little goes a long way. A heaping scoop of naps and snacks, as long as they're mixed in with the rest, of course. In a separate bowl, mix together family, friends, and those who challenge you to be your best self, alongside those with whom you disagree. Add slowly to the larger pot. Add a bay leaf for, well, whatever it is bay leaves do, and let it simmer for as long as you need, which is often longer than you realize or anticipate. Keep the heat at an even temperature, hot enough to cook throughout, but not so hot it burns the bottom. Can be served at room temperature, warm, or even cold if necessary. Serve alongside your favorite soft blanket, dog, cat, or other soft item. Make often. Share with others. That's a beautiful recipe. Thank you. Rosalind Hunter, a member of our choir and a member of the board this year, has written a hymn for returning to our church home. This is its world premiere, performed by Rosalind herself. Roz?
When COVID's gone, we'll meet again. I'll come to church and hold your hand. We'll sing together and cry and pray. I'll hold you tight on that great day. Last night I dreamed everyone was there, both dead and living were everywhere. We came together like we used to do, and when I woke, I thought of you. When COVID's gone, we'll meet again. I'll come to church and hold your hand. We'll sing together and cry and pray. I'll hold you tight on that great day. When COVID's gone, we'll meet again. I'll come to church and hold your hand. We'll sing together and cry and pray. I'll hold you tight on that great day. When COVID's gone, we'll meet again. I'll come to church and hold your hand. We'll sing together and laugh and pray. I'll hold you tight on that great day.
Add that to your recipe for resilience. That was beautiful, Roz. Thank you. With suggestions from the Unitarian Universalist Association headquarters and from the Southern Region office, along with messages from Dr. Fauci and the CDC, I have put together a 3-phase plan for reopening the church, as promised in my goals for this year. I shared a draft this week with the Church Council, that body of committee chairs who make things run smoothly. And as you can imagine, I received questions of why this, why that, and why not sooner, and I adjusted my own thinking to the wisdom of the council. For instance, should we ask who has been vaccinated and separate those who have not? Or should we plan for a safe get-together based on the assumption of the general percentage of people being vaccinated, and that will be reflected in our own numbers? And we should take steps to meet safely, wearing masks and keeping social distance. Someone at the meeting asked, if we say we welcome all seekers and all beliefs into our congregation, how can we now say we make an exception? We should encourage vaccination for the health and safety of all, but not discriminate against those who are insecure about its safety. Good point. Health officials currently recommend 33% of a room's capacity for meeting. If more than that show up, the council members asked, who do we tell you can't come in? And several people volunteered to be the ones to go into another room and watch the service on television. Other volunteers said they would babysit if people with small children came on our first open Sunday. So masks will be required and continued social distancing. We're going to take it slow and easy, having learned from hasty reopenings elsewhere that surges in COVID often follow. But here's where we stand right now. We have set an opening date for September 12th, the first Sunday after Labor Day. It will be the annual water service, so gather your samples and be ready to share. You see, that date gives us time to prepare the church, finish the reconstruction on the repair of the burst water pipe in Jagger's parlor bathroom, train volunteers for seating people and keeping us all safe. The entire draft of the reopening document is printed in the congregational meeting packet which went out this week and will be discussed next week on May 2nd. It will be distributed in the newsletter after that and will be subject to discussion and change following the congregational wisdom and outside statistics and advice. If there is a surge this summer or any new restraints suggested by the CDC, there might have to be a change in the date as well. But I am confident, and I am hopeful at the same time, that we will set up the safest reopening possible, and you all individually have the right to attend or not, according to your own sense of self-preservation and confidence. As Susan Frederick Gray, UUA president, said in a recent letter, as a faith community, we root our decision in the values of inclusion and consent. It's important that everyone who gathers in person has the ability to consent to do so that no one is forced to choose between their congregation and the safety of themselves or their loved ones. Please feel free to make your support or concerns known to me, to the board, to the staff, and the committees who will be involved. Read the document when you can. Attend the congregational meeting next week. Share your thoughts by email or telephone if you can't be there. With longing and hope, I want to be able to see you. I want to say, soon the day will arrive when we can be together. And then add, see you soon, I hope. This is the time in the service when we have a communion of names and milestones, the stories of people involved in our church, involved in the community around us. I have a couple of sad news stories. Reneel Baker caught COVID after his first shot and is at home self-quarantining. Last I heard, he is doing okay. Connie Nelson fell in her garden and broke her humerus. That is not her funny bone. And one should not be troubled by working in the garden, should they? You can call her cell phone. She keeps it nearby as she's recuperating at home. I want to mention the trial of Derek Chauvin and the killing of George Floyd. Thank goodness it's over. And I can only hope that the outcome will give us a new way of looking at policing, how it's done, who does it. It's all on the table. Here in Fort Worth, we are going to experience, or in the beginning of experiencing, an election of city officials. And I think part of our job is to elect the officials that will get work done, and then to write to them and tell them about your concerns about how policing is done in your community, who does it, and the new training that should be done, and its accord. And we can only hope and pray that there will be no more situations like this, although I won't say anything more. Let us take a moment to think about the people we know and love and are separated from until the day arrives when we can meet again. Let us consider the stories that live in this community and beyond our walls. And then let us share a moment of meditation with music. Thank you, Misha. Have you been thinking about the questions I asked you earlier in the service? Here's my third response. We've weathered the worst of the storm and the fog. We've learned to be resilient and patient. We have a plan in place, but it doesn't end there, does it? All of us, in all phases of our lives as we emerge from this pandemic, have to ask ourselves and each other, then what? What happens next? Clearly, we can't go back to exactly the way it was before we heard the words COVID and pandemic and shelter in place. We have changed. We have been changed by all of this. We will have to expect change in ourselves and in our institutions, even in our church. Change is inevitable, Somerset Maugham once told us. We don't have to make a decision for change to happen. It happens with or without our consent. Growth is what is optional. Will we have grown? Will we be better for this tragedy that has befallen us all to one degree or another? Or will we be too scared to take up the banner again? Lao Tzu warned us, if you do not change direction, you might end up where you were heading. And where is that? Status quo? We've always done it this way? Don't make waves? We consider ourselves a species superior to other creations in this world, but Charles Darwin explained it to us like this: it is not the strongest of the species that survive, nor the most intelligent, but the one most responsive to change. Take a look at what lies before us. A lot we don't know yet, but some that is already in the works. Look at what we are considering. We as a church, a congregation, a community. We're thinking about a discussion of whether or not we should change our name, and a vote in November, up or down, a possible need to choose a new name. It would also be a good time to look at who we are before choosing a new identity, a time to consider our mission statement, our vision for the future, a time to examine how we've changed and how much more we want to change. Our choir director has recently retired, and after we say goodbye in person and feel it is safe to sing in groups again, we will need to decide on a new director or a new direction for the choir. We will also need to add that consideration to our budget, because we may have forgotten that our previous director was a volunteer, not a paid staff member. I can't imagine a Sunday service without some kind of choral participation. That's a change we have had thrust upon us, and we will have to rise to meet it. And we are looking at redesigning our website, adding a communications committee, and reinstituting a new social justice committee. These are bold and inspiring plans for a group who hasn't met in person for more than a year. Challenging, yet doable. But they will all take forethought, hard work, and participation. Coming back together isn't just a single social event. It is a faith event. It is a work event. It is a community event, meaning everyone is responsible for its success, from that first joyful reunion to establishing the next big dream and solving the next big problem. Who are you? Who have you become? Who are we? Who do we want to become? May, June, July, August. Seems a long time away before we will be together again, but not as long as we've already been apart. And unless we sit down and talk about it, plan for it, and agree on it, we won't be prepared. 412 days we have been apart. In 127 days more, we could be together. Soon that day will arrive, whether we are prepared or not. So let us celebrate the possibility and prepare ourselves for its success. Please join us in singing the hymn, Soon the Day Will Arrive. It's number 146 in your hymn book.
Soon the day will arrive when we will be together, and no longer will we live in fear. And the children will smile without wondering whether on that day thunderclouds will appear. Wait and see what a world there can be if we share, if we care, you and me. Wait and see what a world there can be if we share, if we care, you and me. Some have dreamed, some have died to make a bright tomorrow, and our vision remains in our hearts. Now the torch must be passed with new hope, not in sorrow, and a promise to make a new start. Wait and see what a world there can be if we share, if we care, you and me. Wait and see what a world there can be if we share, if we care, you and me.
What a joyful thought. What a joyful song. Seems as if it was written just for this occasion, but it wasn't. But soon the day will arrive. Our light has been lit for this community, for the many things we do together. As we've been separate, this light has remained in our hearts. We can extinguish it this Sunday because it lives there yet and will return another day. Our benediction is titled "To Soulfully Survive the World's Mayhem" and was written by Heather Ryan Starr. May whatever gatherings or activities we engage in this Sunday afternoon help restore us, our connections to one another, our sense of hope and beauty and fun in this world, our deep knowing that we have to take care of ourselves and each other with love and joy if we are to soulfully survive the world's mayhem. So may it be in all our lives.